on the shoulders of people who sat and stood and fought and sacrificed their lives and time so that we'd be better off. I'm talking about ordinary people whose courage held them through. We need many Harriet Tubmans, and we need many Sojourner Truths, ordinary heroes. In the fields of California and the mines in Trinidad grew a spirit of justice that spread across the nation and lit a fire that burned so bright that it still brings people hope. We need many Cesar Chavez's, and we need many Mother Joneses, ordinary heroes, ordinary heroes, ordinary heroes. Great changes don't come about from some mystical twist of luck. They're the fruits of people sweating and stressing and never giving up. It takes a lot of hard work and commitment to lift every voice and sing. We need many Ella Bakers, and we need many Martin Luther Kings, ordinary heroes, ordinary heroes, ordinary heroes. Standing on the shoulders of people who put a lot of hard work in and pass along their trials and errors to future generations. And the stories that we pass along will be the thing that keeps us in. We need many Woody Guthries, and we need many Howard Zinns, ordinary heroes, ordinary heroes, ordinary heroes.
And that tune to lead us into the show tonight was Ordinary Heroes by Ryan Harvey, which I think was an apt description of what our guest is tonight. Of course, I think it would be fair to say she's anything but ordinary. We're really excited tonight to have Annie Lindstrom, the host and producer of Talkiepie.net on Blog Talk Radio, with us tonight. Should be a good show, so welcome, Annie. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, hey, Mark. I'm really excited to be here. I've look forward to it. It's the first time the tables are turned on me, so I'm much more the questioner. But I watched your show on your anniversary show, and you did real good, so I should do good too, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, that was the first time I had been on the other side of the table, so it was pretty good. And if the chatters can, how are our levels sounding there in the channel? Are we good? I want to make sure everybody can hear what Annie has to say.
Yeah.
Everybody hears me all the time, so
yeah.
No need for that. So we'll go ahead and launch into it. Everybody's saying it's good. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. And maybe before we get too far into it, why don't you just tell everybody what you did yesterday?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's like I've spent the whole day trying to get my body right. I walked 9 miles in the first leg of the Coalition for Immokalee Workers, which are these, immigrants who basically pick tomatoes out in Immokalee, Florida, just kind of east of Naples, for very low money. It's a very poor area out there. It has a casino and a lot of poor people and a lot of fields with produce in it that needs to be picked. And but they want to get another penny from Publix for every bushel they pick. And Publix, the grocery store chain here, is reluctant to do that. They also want some of the other grocery stores to they just want respect, and so they're marching from, actually, they started in Fort Myers, thank God, because Immokalee is really far away. It's like an hour drive. I used to work at a soup kitchen out there. But they left from Fort Myers at about 10 o'clock yesterday and walked up to North Fort Myers. It was a 9-mile march, and we stopped at Publix in downtown Fort Myers to do a picket. So we did some extra miles in between where we stopped walking to the bathroom and doing the picket there out in front of Publix, and then ending up at All Souls Church where they quit for the night and then went to wherever they were going to sleep and reassembled this morning. And it's going to go on for 2 weeks, and they'll end in Lakeland where Publix headquarters is on March 17th. And along the way, they're taking a long way. They're going through Tampa, St. Pete, and different. They're going down some crowded highways and stuff. We marched over a bridge yesterday too, over the Caloosahatchee River, which was kind of neat.
Well, and I wanted to let everybody know that on top of being, the host and producer of Talkupy.net, that you were also in the field live streaming yesterday.
Yeah, it's actually, the show is actually just Talkupy, but I just put Talkupy.net so people can get to the website.
Right.
So, I was live streaming. I started live streaming when actually, I got really moved by the Trayvon Martin thing last year. Living in Florida, having to deal with a kid getting shot by a neighborhood watch dude anywhere in my state, and people standing up for it was just more than I could take. So at one point I decided I would go up to Stanford and I got involved with the Million Hoodies March via the calls that they did out of InterOccupy. So I was kind of all into that. And I drove 500 miles in one day to go up to Stanford and live stream what was going on up there when they delivered 1 million, I think they delivered 2 million signatures to the mayor to say, arrest Zimmerman. And Al Sharpton was there, Jesse Jackson was there, and the Crump attorneys Crump were there, and we got to go and meet in a old church in a town called Eatonville, which is the first black town in Florida. And I met a lady going in who happened to know everybody in the town and everybody that knew everybody, and I got introduced to everybody, so it was kind of interesting. But it was also heartbreaking, to see that happen. And I live streamed, and it was my first time. I didn't do, it wasn't great, but I love live streaming. Live streaming is how I got into Occupy as deeply as I am, and so I wanted to do it. But I just didn't have anything to live stream until that happened.
Well, and it kind of establishes the fact that you've been interested in not only participating as an activist, but being a media person in activism. So why don't you give us a bit of background of what you did and who you were before Occupy and Talkupy, and what actually brought you into the Occupy movement?
Okay, well, I was thinking about that because, Mark, you were gracious enough to let me know kind of some of the things you'd be asking me. And I got to say, I was born in 57, so by the time it was 1960, I was 3 years old, and I just kind of vibrate with all this stuff. In the 60s, you had, President Kennedy getting assassinated, you had sex, drugs, rock and roll, Vietnam, civil rights. It was and then you had people landing on the moon. It was an amazing decade to be around. Everything was new, and I was young, so I was taking it all in kind of subconsciously. And when I got into high school, I was definitely demonstrating against the Vietnam War. I was super opposed to the war and wore a black armband to school, and one of my babysitters ended up in the SDS, and he ended up being hanged, which they said he did by himself, but I'm a little doubtful of that. But I've always been kind of tuned into politics because I grew up in Chicago as well, which I used to read the great Mike Rico, who wrote a great political column every day in the paper. He switched papers. He was in the Sun-Times, then he switched to the Tribune, which was really strange. But my family read a lot of that. We read a lot of Mencken and Perlman and different writers and discussed things at the table. And I joined the Army when I got out of high school because I kind of didn't do great in high school. So I had to do something. And when I joined the Army, I really kind of figured out a lot of things about the world, because you kind of go through a portal and you're kind of in, like, when they say you're in the Army now, you really are. You know, I found out that, you know, you're in their court of justice then, and you're no longer part of the real world, and that was a pretty interesting awakening. Plus, I got in right when all the guys were coming back from Vietnam, and I was in the, you know, with the Dan Quayle guys, the ones who instead of did the full metal jacket, they did the full dinner jacket. I love that joke. Always love that joke. But so I learned so much just from that whole experience, and I also was actually, it turns out, I mean, I'm doing a circle of life thing today because some crazy stuff happened today, really wild connections. But one of the more interesting circle of life things about me is that I was actually a press secretary for a lady who ran for Congress in 1986, I think. And her name was Mary Lou Kern. She was a coroner, an elected Democratic coroner in a town in Kane County, Illinois, and they thought she might be able to take a seat from a Republican who had retired or I think died. I don't even remember now, but she ended up running against Dennis Hastert. And if you know Congress at all, you know that Dennis Hastert was, you know, Speaker of the House for years and years. So we lost. But the real interesting thing was that the people who actually gave the okay for the Kearnses to hire me were Axelrod and Claypool down in Chicago. David Axelrod and his partner, Forrest Claypool, were the people that I visited before I got okayed into that campaign. And then it just so happens that the person assigned to the campaign from Washington was none other than Rahm Emanuel. So, big circle of life thing there, and big awakening. I decided after that campaign I didn't want anything to do with politics. So it's kind of wild, huh?
Yeah, well, that was kind of interesting. So you started out in the Army and you saw what that was like, and then you got into politics and you saw what that was like. And
well, I was always in politics.
Yeah.
Because I grew up reading Mike Royko, and I lived in Chicago. You got to know about Chicago and how the patronage system works, and and just all the stuff that's going on today is basically just very reminiscent of that. You know, it is a microcosm of what's happening today. So, again, like I said, I mean, the whole thing is I'm just vibrating with everything that's going on. You know, subconsciously there's no escaping this. And Occupy, when it came along, was that when I heard about the pepper spray thing, I'd kind of been paying a little bit of attention, and then I got on Twitter, and I don't know, it's just. It was like a lot of things just started happening as far as like Occupy goes. It was like finally finding people you could talk to about what's going on, because nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody knows anything, and nobody really wants to talk about it. And I thought I knew a few things, but it kind of turned out, you know, all the things that I did sort of know, but I didn't know as many. I think watching Inside Job was a big change for me too. That was huge.
So, you know, the question is, you know, just right there at the forefront, you did your first Talkie-Pie show on April 19th, 2012. So you're coming up on your 1 year anniversary, which is, you know, I have to say, having done it, it was great fun. Which came first, Occupy or Talkie-Pie?
Occupy came first. I've always loved radio. I've always loved radio. Like I said, I grew up in the 60s, and I grew up when FM radio came into being, and listened to great people like Wayne Julin in Chicago, and actually Steve Dahl was very creative when he first came onto the air, and then kind of he turned weird. I even liked Howard Stern, you know, when I first ran into him, when he wasn't, you know, the vulgar machine that he is now. I mean, all these guys start out really creative, and then they kind of turn weird. You know, they just go with the easy way. So, but yeah, Occupy came before Talkie-Pie, but let me see, and let me get it straight. Because what actually happened was there's a fella, he has a show called Underground Wellness, and it's kind of about living a paleo lifestyle, and someone had turned me on to this guy, and I was listening to him, and that's how I found out about Blog Talk Radio, and that would have been earlier in the year in 2011, and then Occupy came along, and I thought I had a false start. I actually signed up and thought I'd do a show, and then I just chickened out. And then I finally got my friend. It wasn't going to be my show was called Talk. When I got the idea, I was like, yeah, what am I going to name my show? And I was like, oh yeah, Occupy. That's awesome. And I looked and see if it was taken, and it wasn't taken. So I was like, yeah, I knew that was a winner. And I just knew that my show was going to be Occupy inspired, but I didn't want it to be just Occupy.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked my friend Loring Werble, who's a friend of mine from I'm a writer in the communications industry, and I asked him if he would be my first guest, and he said sure. And then as soon as I had a friendly body to help me do my first show, that felt good, and I just said, okay, let's do it. And I scheduled it and did it, but I didn't have my second show until like a couple weeks later. But my second show changed my life completely.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? That sounds like a great story. And I'm also interested in, you said you liked radio, you enjoy it, you grew up in a radio era, and but it's a pretty big leap to go from enjoying something to starting your own station and doing live interviews. So let's talk about that second interview a little bit and what lit you up about that.
Oh, my second interview? Yeah, that was with a girl. Okay, and it all ties into Occupy. We're going to go in another circle again, okay? I had been watching Oprah show out of Oakland, do a lot of this live streaming out in the Oakland battleground. And he also came to J17 in Washington, and he interviewed people in the crowd. I really loved his style. He didn't just live stream it and kind of gab. He went up to people and talked to them. And he talked to this kid. He is my friend, Dusty Hins. He wasn't my friend at the time, though. He walked up to Dusty Hins and started talking to him, and Dusty's saying, we need 500 million organic farmers, and we need them today. And everything that Dusty said was just killing me. I was like, I got to know who this person is. I got to reach out to him. So Oak asked for his information, and I wrote him immediately. I wrote him a little note. And so J17 was just a huge, huge thing for me. That was a day, more than even eviction, that I came right into Occupy. I just loved that. Everything that happened that day, it was amazing, and Oprah Show did a great job of covering it. But Dusty Hins, later after that, he wrote on this girl that was my second show, Brittany Octet, who's now married, and I'm blanking on her new last name. Sorry, Brittany. But he wrote on her wall. There was a thing called International Permaculture Day going on across the world, and he wrote that he was coming down to Tampa to go to her International Permaculture Day. And since Dusty said he was going, I thought, well, I'll go. And then I think I asked him. I hadn't contacted with him yet, but then I wrote to him and I said, are you going or not? Or are you just doing that in solidarity? He said solidarity. So I said, okay, well, I'm still going to go because, if you think it's good, I'm sure it's great. So I drove my little butt up to Tampa, and first thing I did was I asked Brittany to be on my show, and she said yes, and then we had to postpone it for one reason or another. And then she came on the show, and she was really great. She did a great job on the show and talking about permaculture, and I didn't know anything about permaculture at the time. So, I just got really excited. I mean, I'm kind of impressionable. I get excited about a lot of things, so that's kind of why I'm a good radio host. But I just wanted so badly to go up and see what was going on, and she put on this tremendous show with a day with people who gave information on permaculture, and we did an edibles walk with this guy named Andy Ferk, who's really talented and knows what you can eat off the street or hanging from a fence. And after that day, I became someone who wanted to grow food, and a year ago, I couldn't even keep a plant alive, and now I've got a big hugelkultur berm in my backyard. I'm growing more tomatoes than I can eat, and I've got probably about 15 crops growing on my my lot here at my suburban house. So it changed my life a lot. Yeah,
well, that's great. You know, because as we talked in the lead up to the show, when we had a chance to talk, I'm interested in permaculture and sustainability and how I think that's the solution. So it's wonderful to hear your story as a person that wasn't involved, and now you're involved in it and committed and focused. And it's just, it's a great story, and it's like one of those peripheral positive side effects of being engaged with Occupy.
Yeah, definitely. I do a lot of great things. I always do kind of cool things, but I just feel like there's a family around me now, especially with Facebook, and it's kind of hard to explain. But I mean, I just feel like there's people I can talk truth with now, so it makes life a lot better. That's the day, when Occupy started happening. It's like you didn't have to pretend, you knew stuff anymore, and now you know stuff, but you still have people you can talk to, and they're not going to look at you like you're or call you a communist, like they used to call me when I would campaign for Mondale. The Reagan people would walk by me, "You communist?" I'm like, "Wait a minute, don't you sort of need two parties? Maybe you're the communist."
And some people are interested in what your geography is, in case you would care to share it.
Oh, I'm down in Southwest Florida, in the Fort Myers area. Mm-hmm.
Southwest Florida and Fort Myers, which is not a bad place for permaculture, I'm guessing.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, permaculture is good everywhere because of the permaculture principles. You work with what you get, you reuse, I forget what they all are, but, you do it with what you have, and it's the soil down here, is great for natives. Actually, my third show was a lady who she advocates putting 10 feet of your yard back to nature, and she tells you what plants are native to your soil and what you can grow without having to water. Just plant it and watch it. And I got a whole butterfly machine out in my front yard here. That was actually the first thing I put in, and that was because of my friend Sue Scott from the Back 10 Feet. And I've known her from a group that I helped start here called Cape Coral Friends of Wildlife, and she came on my show kind of as a friendly gesture too. But I had also just gotten a writing assignment for an agriculture magazine in Sebring, and I was writing about mulch and all kinds of stuff. It's just weird. Everything was kind of happening at once. So there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of layers here. So I don't want to confuse everybody, but there's a lot of layers going on.
People want to know.
And I've done 70 shows since I started my show, which is like a lot.
Okay, and I want to come back to topics, but right now I got to get this question in because it's great. People want to know what a butterfly machine is.
A butterfly machine is when you have the host plant and the nectar plant right where they need it, okay? Because they have to have a plant that they can get nectar from, and then they have to have a plant that they can lay the eggs on, and the babies can hatch and then eat and then the caterpillars come out and they eat everything off the plant. I have milkweed out here, tropical milkweed, and I have a blue porterweed, and I have a golden dewdrop, and I have a passion vine. The passion vine and the golden dewdrop are the fritillary machine, and the porterweed and the milkweed are the monarch machine.
That's awesome. And in great permaculture style, we identify the biological elements as part of the machine, of the great permaculture machine. I love that. So,
it's just great. I have so many butterflies. It's great. And I actually had one that didn't crawl up. I couldn't figure out where they were pupating at first. And they just couldn't find out. I was like, where are they? They said, you'll find them. And then one day I looked up, and in the archway of my door, which is kind of like a story and a half high, it's a high archway to my front door, they were sticking their pupas up there. A couple weeks ago, I had one do one of his little beautiful little green locket, that the monarchs make with the little gold beads on them, right under my office window, and I got to watch him. I got to watch him get ready to come out. I missed him coming out, but that was in time to see his wings still crumpled up, and I went out and sat in my garden and took a whole bunch of pictures of them and put them on my Facebook page, and it was fun.
Well, see, this is what I love about, just OPN in general, because who knew we were going to talk about butterflies, but it just makes me happy that we are. And so what is the goal? What is the goal of Talkupy Radio? What are you trying to achieve with that?
The goal of Occupy is was in the first place was to be a part of Occupy. I felt like such a huge part of it. I never left my computer, and I know you said the same thing the other day on your interview. But when I started being able to live stream, the first thing I live streamed was the night at the Rose Kennedy Greenway, when the Western stormtroopers came in and started. They had to remove them from this piece of land, which was nonsense, and it was the Vets for Peace in their uniforms with their flags surrounding the protesters. And in the middle of the night, they tore the flags down, and it's ugly. It was real ugly, and I was watching it on my iPhone, which I had at the time. I had to get rid of it. It was too small. But ever since that night, I just became completely obsessed with, watching live streams, and I watched all the live streams and participated in the chats, and I wanted to be a part of it. I was sick that I was down here and there was nothing happening. We had a little Occupy here in Fort Myers that was kind of funny, because I went over there and the kids started telling me how they were in good with the cops and stuff when they were coming around to write the second night of citations. And I said, okay, I won't be coming back here. But I did, I couldn't attach down here. So I wanted to be a part of it, and I just didn't know how. And I thought, well, this might be a way, and I can interview some of the people. And I did interview some of the people right away, which was fun. But the second reason was to inspire people and recognize, all the millions of people who occupy in their own way, whether they know it or not. Occupy is Occupy inspired, but there's people out there doing all kinds of amazing things, and nobody ever hears about them. My friend Giles went to, Giles Clark, who takes a lot of Occupy pictures. He went to Bhopal, and he took a bunch of pictures there, and he also went to Jamaica a couple of weeks ago to watch what this guy, Father Albert, is doing down in Jamaica with the people there who are just have nothing, and it's hard. And he goes, and then he helps so many people, and so many young people get educations. And people are getting on Giles' thing going, oh, that's so nice that he's there. And I'm like, it just drove me nuts. I just wrote, there's many, 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 many Father Alberts out there. They're everywhere. It's like, don't you see them? And it's like, I don't understand how people don't see all the people who just kick butt doing great things, to make this world better. And they're everywhere.
And it's ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Yeah, it's just there's millions of them, and they need to be heard, and we need to find out about them. Gosh, I got the girls from Balloons Flow over here, and on the other side of Florida. They go out and they clean the beach every day since they were little kids, and pick up balloons and plastic and stuff like that, and put pictures of it up and inspire other people to do it. All these people, I'm going to tell you, my show is crazy, because a lot of things that I touched last year have blown up after that. Like a lot of things. It's kind of like weird. I am not saying I did it. I'm just saying I was there before. I really was.
Give us some examples, because the amount of territory you cover, and we talked about this
I know.
too, is you have a pretty broad range of interests in your guests and topics. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. My topics. I'm my demographic. I've talked. People have said, "Well, you need an area." Some people said, "You're really good. You should go professional, but you're going to need to narrow you're going to need to have a demographic, and you're going to need to shorten your show." And I'm like, those are two things I'm not willing to do. So, I'm my demographic. If I see something interesting, it's on the show. And I build relationships with people that I want to come on. I just ask them via email, or it's just all sideways. All I do all day is it's like I'm a police scanner for the show. I can't get my real work done anymore. But some of the things one of the things that blew up, I had balloons blow. Like I said, there's two young girls, young women, young ladies that they have been cleaning the beach over on the east coast of Florida since they were little kids. And when I met them, their Facebook page was not it was like they had just sort of gone a little bit global. And like right now, they just got asked to this conference called Bonfire Heights that another friend of mine does. He actually heard my show last year and sent me some guests, so I started turning him on to some of my guests to be speakers, next year. And he asked them to come and speak out in Santa Cruz. And they have just gone. They've just gone over the top, with everything, on their page. They've just got a ton of new people. I have the Center for Snake Conservation. My friend Cameron Young came on, and his effort there, which is basically him, and some people that are interested in snakes and doing education for kids out there. They just went over the top with their likes, and he actually came out and did a snake hunt down here in Florida, and I went out and hunted for snakes with him at Fish Eating Creek. So that was kind of fun. And I'm trying to think of the other one. Let me see. Wait a minute. Oh, darn it. Not the Beagle Rescue. Not Kaboom. Yeah, I did mountaintop removal. I did occupy vacant lots. I've done, it's prison reform. Actually, my friend, I learned about this group. It's called Prison Entrepreneurship Program at my church, like about 5 years ago, maybe even 6 years ago. What they do is they go in and they teach prisoners who are, typically smart people that get caught doing a bad thing. If they could be taught to do a good thing before they get out and how to do it and make money at it, they probably wouldn't go back. So it's called PEP, and I called and asked for the director, and the director came on my show. It was one of my very first shows, and we did a 30-minute show, and it was awesome. It was my first one where I was so happy that I did it. It was like I didn't even have to do another show after I did that one. But he just recently did a TED Talk today, an article that was in the Houston Chronicle on their program, just got picked up by AP, and that thing is just taken off. And I had the first interview, so that's all I'm saying.
Oh, you just calling it like it is. I had a really good question here. People are impressed with what you're doing, and they want to know if you work alone or do you have research help or any kind of assistance?
No, I work alone. I don't have any research help. I mean, I have the internet. I have Facebook. I have contacts. The thing that I do well with my life is I make connections. I'm very, 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 very interested in people. I'm genuinely interested in people. And I wouldn't change my show. I was thinking about it today, because I was like, well, what am I supposed to be doing? I can't raise any money. I've had 23, I've had shows with 30,000 listens where nobody dropped even a dollar in the bucket, and it's like I can't make money that way. So I've had people come alongside me and give me a few things here and there, and I do have someone that pays the fee monthly now, which was a very kind person. I'm lucky to meet the right person in that respect. But I spend a lot of time on the show, and I work really hard. And I get, if I see something, I ask about it. For example, I'll tell you quickly that this whole thing that happened, it's on my blog right now at talkify.net. The story about this circle of life that happened this week. I had Mary Ellen Ryall, who did butterfly, had a nonprofit that did butterfly habitat up in northern Wisconsin. And then, so she was great. She was talking about, how she worked with the indigenous people up there and everything, and how she was worried about this mining bill that was happening in Wisconsin, so on and so forth. So she was wonderful, just an awesome guest, and very, very knowledgeable, and talked more about butterflies and stuff and how they're endangered. And then the next day, I ended up having Lee Camp on, the comedian and activist. He came. I had been kind of trying to get him on, and he said, "Could he come on Monday?" And I was like, "No, I don't think so. I want to get you on a staff pick," which for people listening is with Blog Talk Radio. If you get a staff pick, you can get up to tens of thousands of listens by being a featured show like that. So I said, let's wait one day, let's go Wednesday. So he actually became a staff pick. It was awesome, and he came on the show, and he's a wonderful guy. He didn't come on and just rant. We had a wonderful, substantive conversation, and I had to do a quick little study on him. The sad thing I will say about all my guests is after they're on, it's like I wish I had known all the stuff I know after I do the interview to do the interview again, but I do ask people to come back on, so I get a chance to do that.
But, I know the feeling. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's like, it's part of the deal. And then, so Lee Camp came on, and he said something about, I told him that he was a very, that his comedy was very physical, and that he kind of reminded me a little of Sam Kinison. And he said, I really didn't think so, because Sam Kinison was kind of sexist and, weird, about women and gays and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, I don't think you're like that, but I do think that you do scream, and you do, it's a very physical act you got there. And I said, when did you decide, what, have you always done that, or did you make a decision to do it? And he said, no, I made a decision to do it. He said, I just needed to add that little bit in there, and when I had the courage to do it, and because he felt like it would be more impactful, I think is what he said, with his audience, and he felt like, and also when he decided to start doing more political stuff, he said, as long as if they don't laugh, at least they learn something.
Oh, good point. So, I'm a big Lee Camp fan, so it's interesting to hear that observations.
Yeah. He was delightful, and so anyway, there was that little courage thing that got slipped in, and so later in the day, I was like sitting around, and I was going, what did he say? And I was like, so I decided that day that I would change my LinkedIn to reflect that I'm a blog talk radio host instead of a freelance writer first. That I am first and foremost a radio host, and to maybe change the energy a little bit. But that was something I was lacking the courage to do that, because I don't want my clients to not hire me because they're afraid that I'm an activist and that their clients will not like my associations. And so I've been kind of like guarding. I've been kind of like keeping a false wall between that. Right. So then the next day, I had Jenna Pope on, and I've been trying to get Jenna on forever. Well, she ended up being at the radio show and in a newspaper, and then my show that day. She'd been at the Capitol building the day before, getting arrested and de-arrested while the idiots in the legislature passed this, bill where, they can do iron ore mining with neutron bombs, I guess, if they want to. There's no regulations. They can do whatever they want. And that went back to Mary Ellen's Butterfly Garden. And so this whole time, I've been trying to get an indigenous person to come and talk to me about, the devastation happening to tribal lands, after talking to Mary Ellen. And I've been wanting to get some indigenous people on my show ever since Idle No More started. And I signified that early on New Year's Eve by putting up a indigenous rug on my wall. But anyway, so it turned out I was hunting down these people that I said, Mary Ellen, who should I contact? And she gave me a couple names, and I contacted some people. And then today, Jenna actually tied up. She made the introduction to someone I'd sent a letter to. And I'm going to have Marty Copenay from the Indigenous Environmental Network on my show on Thursday. From Excellent. A guy that dropped out. I had a last minute cancellation. So it kind of is like I know it's supposed to happen,
Yeah, and it was kind of funny that day. Jenna was doing like the media tour that day because she was on at 9 and 10 and 11. It was kind of great. But so you touched a little bit on your listener numbers, and I want to speak to that a bit because one of my interests is how do we get these stories and these messages out to a broader spectrum. So tell us a little bit about kind of what your feel for your listener numbers are, and do you get much feedback or commentary from your listeners?
No, not really. And that's one of my really sad things. On my Talking About Facebook page today, I wrote down, I'm looking for a few people who have 2 or 3 shows to give me, feedback, what is that thing when you call focus group? To give you feedback. You can do it in a paper, you can do it on a phone call. And like I saw that like almost 60 people looked at it, but nobody said anything.
Huh.
So, you know, I was looking for feedback, but then now I think maybe I don't need feedback. I'm not sure. I'm kind of still puzzling over that because I think my motive was wrong. I think my motive was to try to please them, and I don't really think that that's what my job is. My job isn't to please my listeners. My job is to do my job and then get the listeners that I get. And I need to do my job. That's the most important thing. Yeah. And my job is to put great people on the other end of the phone and talk to them and get the information that you would never get anywhere else in the whole world. And that because I can talk to people like other people can't. I have an ability to bring people out and make them feel comfortable and talk to me. And, you know, and to do it if I do it for an hour, all right, well, you know, I don't know. You know, maybe I don't need to do it for a half hour. I listened to one of my shows, and it was a half hour, and I was like, God, is this thing ever going to end? But, of course, I've heard it before, and I did the show, and I figured maybe I do need to bring it down to 30 minutes. So I'm kind of confused right now about what I need to do. But people need to hear about mountaintop removal. People need to hear about, you know, Paul Robeson Freedom School, which I did a live cast. That was something I developed last summer. I called Justin Wheatus when he said he was going to start the Paul Robeson Freedom School. I said, listen, I'll call in on a night and your barbecue night, and you can put people on the phone with me, the students and the people who come out, you know, and all that. And we did it for like 8 nights, and sometimes we didn't have that many people. And I played Paul Robeson songs. But that's all right. So, like, yeah, I've done 70 shows. I've had 122,501 listens. I think 167 of them are me. My featured shows were Lee Camp, Food and Water Watch came on to talk about fracking. They gave me an applied mathematician who turned out to be great, but it wasn't one of your more dynamic shows. The highest show I've ever had was on snake myths with my friend Cameron Young from the Center for Snake Conservation. I also had a lady. This is what I see. Like, if I see this, like, going by me on Facebook, it's a show. I mean, there's no way. They're like this lady up in Tampa who has a farm in the bed of her truck. You know, she had 23,000 listens. She did great. You know, February is my biggest month ever. I had 55,000 people listen to my show. And that's almost half of what I've had for the whole year. For the whole year I've been doing it. My other featured show was Mitzi Gordon, who had taken a little short bus, and turned it into a book bus called the Bluebird Book Bus. Awesome. She did really good. And then Wolf, I had worldwide. I think they were my first sponsored show was Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. They had about 8,000 listens. And then I had Kelly Hart, who did Green Homes, and yeah, I think those were the ones that got featured so far. Always fun when you get a feature, but I don't care if I get 100 listens to a good show. Me and Dusty sat and kicked back and talked about, and I got to meet him at S17, by the way. We sat and kicked back and talked about history and how important it is to know your history. One day we got 100 some listens to that show. I'm fine with that. Just fine with that.
And, you know, this is, we've talked, and this is, you know, so much along the same lines that I'm thinking about our channel. So you're a kindred spirit, and it actually I find it encouraging to know that there's somebody else out there. It's like you said, you know, we're not alone.
I know.
Right? Yeah.
We were separated at birth, for sure, Mark. I felt that when I was watching your show and you were doing the flying thing. I was like, oh my God, I got to move to North Carolina now.
Yeah,
but that's how I feel about all my guests. You know, it's like I gotta go live by them now.
We're twins that got separated at birth. So I want to ask you about the you know, the support side of it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, one of my things is new media is not free, and everybody that I know has a challenge supporting it, and you have you know, a lot of listeners. But you said your support, your financial support to keep the channel on is lagging behind that.
Yeah, I think I'm not creative enough about it. I need to think through it a little bit more. It's hard to ask people right now because most of people, I don't know, people don't value things, right? But, that's okay. I would probably die without my show, so it's probably, worth its weight in gold, because I probably wouldn't even care if I was around without my show. I think the weird thing, one of the things I wanted to say, the thing about Blog Talk Radio is that it's very celebrity-based. And, I think I may end up leaving there inevitably anyway, because it's going to be really hard to get staff picks there. So what's the point, paying them a bunch of money?
Right.
When I can do it cheaper elsewhere, and maybe I could ask people to put $1 in the bucket for a listen.
Right.
So would people still do it? Will I have enough to bring along at that point? And again, in my world, everything goes to motive. And it's like I got to always ask what is my motive, and if my motive isn't right, if I got to get my motive on the right, page, and then everything can be answered by that. What am I trying to do? But as far as are you asking me for what? Are you asking me for the call to action, or what I would ask people to do?
No. I was just wondering if you experience the same challenges as the live streamers do, because it's a little bit of a different platform, but it is new media, and I think that the problem is endemic. It's like, how do we scrape together? And different people have different motivations. Mine is quite similar to you. I do it because it needs to be done, and I do it as cheaply as I can, because I don't have money to put into it.
Right.
But I do it, because I love it, and I think it needs to be done, and I like sharing stories. So much the same as you. And I was just getting a temperature check.
I'm starting to think that, again, what's the important piece here? I mean, everybody's got something good to say. So say I didn't have my sponsor. I wouldn't have my show right now. There's no way. I couldn't do it. I can't. I'm losing my cell phone this month, So it's like I'm losing everything, unless I'm going to have to start selling. I don't know. I won't do, crazy things for money. But, maybe there's other ways to do it, too. Maybe you and I, I think the next step down or step up for you and I is to start doing more live and in-person stuff with real people in the community. Right. I don't really think it's necessary for me to be on electronic media. And at a certain point, I won't be able to. When I can't pay the electric bill, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to Starbucks to do the show. It's not going to happen. Trust me. So if it's not, and I don't mean to sound cold, but I think that maybe I'm not in the right medium. Maybe the right medium is live. And I really started thinking that last night when I watched that thing that you did with the flying thing. That's what if I was really being courageous, that's what I would be doing. I think what I'm doing now is fine, but is it really what's needed? Is it really the thing that the world needs right now? Maybe it's what I need to get to the point, that next stage.
Right.
Because the other day on the march, I was a little disappointed. I wasn't connecting with people. I can either be too gabby. I've got issues. Okay, I can be kind of animated, and people aren't used to that, And there were a lot of young people, and my train of thought can get a little crazy or whatever. But I was just thinking maybe there's a need for a class where people learn how to talk to each other, or where people learn how to break the ice and have a little conversation without having a polite conversation and then moving on.
Right.
And, becoming engaged.
Well, we could do a whole show on that, because one of my favorite things is we have more communication tools than ever before in history and less real communication going on. So, that's near and dear.
Exactly. I used to laugh when I worked at a big company that was in the communications industry, and they had this movie where they showed this technology which was going to, if you call the guy up, you could basically glorified picture phone where you could share a schematic, or you could, say, here's this tool, Joe, what is it? I don't know what to do with it. And then Joe would say, oh, well, it's a Schmagegi puller, and he'd say, oh, okay, thanks. And then, you go away, and they turned off the lights. As soon as they turned off the movie, I said, that is ingenious. A technology that makes people be at their desk when you call them. I can't believe you could come up with that.
Well, I want to get a couple of questions in here before I lose them in the chat stream. The first one is, what is your top 3 dream list of guests that you would like to interview?
Oh my God. I don't know. The next coolest thing. I mean, right now my dream is to have the indigenous person come on and speak about. His name is Marty Cobanet, and so yeah, I want to hear a lot more about I don't know more. I want to hear a lot more about tribal. I want to learn a lot more about that culture. So that would be one. The second one is I'm going to be having. I like to have the artists on. I had my friend Alex Schaefer, who paints the Chase Banks on fire out there in Los Angeles and gets arrested for it. Actually, he doesn't get arrested; he gets tickets. He paints the bank and then he makes it on fire, and they don't like that. But I'm going to have a guy that had, I guess, 500,000 YouTube watches. His name is John Kilduff, and he did a thing called Let's Paint TV, where he gets on a treadmill, and he makes mixed drinks in a blender and takes questions on a phone, takes obscene questions on a phone while he paints a picture. And I actually, he's kind of an associate of Alex's. And as soon as Alex had watched Let's Paint TV, as soon as he sent that to me, I watched this thing and I was like, oh my God, I have to have this guy on my show. And I didn't know he was really famous. So that he had this huge amount of YouTube watches or whatever. And he's been on Tyra, I guess, as well, and some other stuff. But I just asked him the other night on a chat, and he said, yeah, he would come on. So that's one that's coming. That's a dream. And then I have a National Lawyers Guild attorney coming on. His name is Matt Pillisher, and he made a movie about mass incarceration. That's called, I can never remember the name of it. Darn it. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it. But it's, he's a National Lawyers Guild attorney and filmmaker, and he's going to come on and talk about this awesome documentary made about mass incarceration and everything, go in that direction. I'm really interested in the prison topics.
Right.
I did a prison ministry a while ago. So I'm really looking forward to him coming on. I love the NLG, and I guess I'm also having Jason Samuel, the guy who did Occupy This Album. He's going to be on the 21st. So he was kind of a great person to have on, just because that thing is so amazing. If you've seen it, it's like Occupy This Album, and it's got a bunch of protest songs on it by all these artists. I can't believe it even exists. And he had a lot to do with getting that thing put together. So my dream guests are the people, I guess, I don't know. And then I have that Father Albert's going to be on, and who knows who else. It's just, I don't know.
Whoever's on the front of your mind at a given time. I think that's a great answer.
Yeah, but that's definitely the indigenous people. I'm fascinated by that. I could actually go and just do all that. I could get a demographic in that, I think. I'm very, very, very moved to that.
Another question is that people throughout Occupy circles seem to become discouraged from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to those that feel like giving up? And I'm assuming it means giving up on the Occupy movement or working for social justice or whatever.
I give up every day about 100 times. So what I would say is, it's all we're here, and it's kind of a discussion I have with Mary Ellen Ryle, and this is going to take us back to the butterflies. I really believe that there's two dynamics going on the earth today. There's the destroyers, and then there's the creators and the builders and the lovers, and nobody's perfect, right? I mean, even the destroyers love somebody once in a while, and even the creators and gifters, they're mean to a butterfly or somebody once in a while. But for the most part, the motives of the two sides are very distinct, and I think that as we, the creators, and the people that want to save, and the people that want to, do the right thing, so to speak, do our work and lend a hand to each other and become, doing to others as we would have others doing to ourselves, and and live that way, I think what we're actually doing, me and Mary Ellen were talking about it, and we said, we're kind of like if you would tell somebody a butterfly, like this caterpillar is going to go in this little tiny thing and come out like a big ass monarch butterfly, like you would just say, you're high, man. What were you smoking? And it's like, I think it's the same thing with what's going on with the earth. It's like we don't have the knowledge to know what's happening, but we've kind of been told the meek shall inherit the earth. And the meek doesn't mean the weak people. It means the people who bear up and do what they feel they should be doing. And if you do that, and you don't compromise as much as you can, maybe you'll get in a cocoon. Maybe we're all going to get in that cocoon together and just bust out as soon as this thing falls apart. It's going to fall apart, and there's no question about that, in my mind. But I mean, I've been proven. I put a lot of people in their grave that are still walking around right now. I'll tell you that. I've seen a lot of miracles happen. So I think it behooves us not to predict the future. It behooves us to act, in the moment. It behooves us to pick ourselves back up and, go march for 9 miles, even if you know it's retarded. You shouldn't be doing it. You're putting an energy out there that's good for me. I knew I was going to hurt today, but man, do I feel good that I did that. And, on a bunch of different levels, a selfish level, but also on a, I'm connected to that march now. All the way to the end, just because I started it. So I do believe what Mary Ellen and I were talking about is just this duality that exists. And if you really become cognizant of it, maybe become cognizant of this world where there's all these people doing great things, and you're one of them, and you don't know what's going to happen, but you trust that if you just keep doing it, that's the important part. Nothing else.
Yep.
And
gotta keep doing it.
Yeah, but you gotta pick yourself back up. You gotta parent yourself, literally. I mean, I have to pick myself up every day, all day long. I mean, I'd say more about me, but I'd rather not. I mean, I have a hard time. It'd be hard for me to explain to you how hard of a time I have with life. But I get through it every day. I don't know how, but I do. So yeah, just know that the next minute you're probably going to feel better.
Well, that was a wonderful call to action in and of itself. Just which is not to oversimplify. It's about to say just getting up and doing it, which is sometimes the most difficult thing in the world. And while we were batting that around, I was thinking, what and I tell people this all the time. I do it for love, not for money, and this comes from having been a working artist and never able to sell anything. I'm not used to it, so I have no hope of this having any kind of financial support. And it's like I conceded that point a long time ago, and then I can do it. I can do it as it's what I have to give the world. It's a small thing. It probably doesn't matter a hill of beans, but it's what I can do. So
yeah, I agree. And for me, the more I've gone into, I kind of started sliding. I mean, I've never been good with my money ever, and I've never really made very much. But what little I did, I didn't do a great job with it. But in 2009, actually, I bought the house down here right after the tech bubble burst, and then everything started going downhill. I went from making pretty good dough to not making that much, and my mortgage was kind of high, and I was in a nightmare situation in my personal life, and but it all worked out. I got out of that, and then I ended up debt free in 2005. Bought my house, and I'm just not in a good place right now. Mostly because of the banksters, but also because of myself, and because I really couldn't stand being out of debt. I really just didn't know how to handle it. So I know it sounds silly, but but I've never felt better having. Actually, it's better not to have a lot of things.
Yep.
And I went on 2 mission trips. I went to Costa Rica and Guatemala, and boy, you get back from those and you get in your bed. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to be in a big house when you've seen, other things that shouldn't be. So it's like I don't feel that good about it. I haven't felt that comfortable about it since I got back from my trip in 2006.
Well, it's comparison and contrast, right? I mean, we live in the world that we live in, and then that becomes our frame of reference. And then when you go somewhere else and you have a different experience and you see how very little some people have and how they're just on the edge, but they're still able to have these, full, rich lives, it gives you pause and gives you question your existence. It makes sense.
It actually answers. It doesn't give you question. It gives you answers. It says you don't need this crap. Yeah. It's not a question. It's actually, because yesterday I was at the mass at the church where they started, and you're watching all these kids are taking care of their little kids. It's just like there's a different, it's a whole different context that people are living in. And it's like, I've never liked my contacts. I drive down the street and I'm like, how did we do this? How did this become? Why did we do this to the earth? It breaks your heart. Right. It breaks my heart. And it's like, but it doesn't matter. I'm starting to help a community garden, do a community garden effort here in town, and working with the transition organizations around here. I think also, in addition to Occupy, I would say if the permaculture thing had not come around, I wouldn't be as stable and happy as I am, and as good as I am, and as able to pick myself up. Right. Permaculture is very important. I would tell that person who asked that question, I would start looking into permaculture, because that's going to change your life quite a bit. Getting a garden has helped me a lot too. It's so great to just go do that stuff, and I hated that stuff for most of my life.
Well, we were having a conversation earlier. One of my friends in the channel, Uppity One, and I were having this conversation about permaculture and sustainability, and how permaculture itself it touches every bit of being, and if you approach the world from that perspective, the whole dynamic changes, because then it's all about nurturing and care and sustainability. And there's not one thing in a human being's life that they can point to and say that it doesn't have a permaculture principle attached to it. So it is absolutely a solution.
Yeah, it's definitely the best way to fix, the stuff that's going on in your life, and just apply those rules, right. And you end up in a much better place. And actually, everybody talks about sustainability, but we actually are focusing more on resilience these days.
Right.
So let me just go over them. There's 12 of them. Observe and interact, catch and store energy, obtain a yield, apply self-regulation and accept feedback, use and value renewable resources and services, produce no waste, design from patterns to details, integrate rather than segregate, use small and slow solutions, use and value diversity, use edges and value the marginal, and creatively use and respond to change. You can write those on your refrigerator and get something out of those every day.
That's right. You could, and you should, right? I think you should. I'm doing
it right now because, the diversity, I need diversity. I looked around at my Facebook page and I looked at my shows, and I'm like, I don't have any diversity. I have some, but I was upset. I'm like, I need diversity. That's why I'm not happy. I don't have enough diversity.
You have a fair amount of diversity in topic matters, so.
Topic, but not. I need more. I really want more. I want more of everybody. And I Don't Know More has been such a huge addition to Occupy. I think also maybe another way to get more balanced in Occupy is to get some more information on I Don't Know More and the indigenous people and what they're doing. They're like up there in Red Lake in the freezing cold Minnesota, burning a fire right now. And the fire is a very important part of their protest. Whereas we would be like, bring the flags and make sure you don't get arrested and yell at the cops and, swear and all the rest of that stuff.
Yep.
That's not going to be happening in this. This is going to be a very impactful and very good opportunity for people to learn something different. And I think that's the other one, value, respond, creatively use and respond to change.
Right.
Important.
That was a good point, because the indigenous peoples are coming at it from a different angle, and we would be well served to watch and learn and investigate that.
We have to break out of our boxes, and that's another thing I find a lot of people doing. I find a lot of people jumping from one box into another box. They want to go to these, okay, look, people want awards. They want to go to these, mainstream talks that are for really rich people. I understand the desire of that, but I don't have any use for that stuff. I don't want the stuff of the world, of the existing corporate world. I really don't. I want a few dollars from them right now, but man, I'd do anything not to have to take any of their dollars and not take any of their awards and not go and, play the games that have been, that get into the institutions that have been there, that they look like they're edgy, but they're not.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't want to be too critical, because, I understand people need recognition, but we need to start recognizing each other and helping each other. We need to become a community, and we're not doing that, and we're not willing yet. And I'm not saying I'm so willing either. I don't even do a chat on mine. I'm kind of jealous of your show, because I love that you have these people who've been with you, and I was thinking, man, I wish I could do all that at once. But maybe I'll try it now, because I see that you have something I don't have, and I really want that.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a couple of more questions here. This one is from our friend Amigo, who is in Mexico, actually, and he's a
awesome.
longtime viewer and supporter, and he's on tonight. And he would like to know, what do you think the single most important thing that Occupy has achieved, in your opinion?
I'm an English major, so these questions are funny. Not that it's coming from Mexico, but
did I
because
butcher the language?
they can mean a lot of different things, and I could pick that anyway. The single most important thing it's achieved, I think, is it's created. I think the community that's been created, at least for me, that's the most important thing. I think it's really hard to know, because you don't know how the other people, the people on the outside, they think it's, every single article I read says, the Occupy movement that fell apart and went away, and now they're coming back and suing, the country, or suing the banks, or suing the country for bailing out the banks, or whatever they did the other day, the SEC suit that they put on. If you were going to say what they did, I would say it's going to be strike debt, in a way, because everybody has this debt. And I was at the strike debt unveiling. They did the Debt Resisters Manual during S17. It was released that night, and I think this debt thing is going to become huge. For people stopping to feel like they're owned by these debtors, and starting to understand, how debt is used to put people into their place. That's how they actually ended up getting the land from the Indians back in the civil, before during, I don't know which time period it was, but it was Lincoln. I think it was during Lincoln's time. They actually ended up getting them all in debt so they could take the last pieces of land away from them up there in North Dakota, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I heard that on This American Life. So yeah, I think strike debt is really important, but and I also think just what's going on right now, that we're all sitting here talking, is just that people are talking. That I'm going to say that's the most important thing.
Well, and Amigo, I know him. He will appreciate that answer, and I think it's great. It's like I think the purpose of all art is to be the point of departure for the conversations, you know, and so this is a good example of that. And then I promised I'd throw in this one political question somebody asked.
All right.
And,
I'm so flattered that people are asking me questions. It's like, it feels funny.
Yeah, people want to know what your opinion on the sequestration business is.
My opinion is, bring it on. Let's go.
You want to
the sooner the better. I mean, seriously, this is like a joke. I mean, sequestration? Seriously? Are you kidding me? I mean, now we lost that word. Austerity went down the tubes. It must not have been. What's that word in marketing? You know, it must not have been hitting or something like that with people.
It wasn't
so
viable.
They decided to change it to, you know, oh, we better just change this to sequestration. You know, whatever they need to do, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it right now because people need to friggin' wake up, and they're not waking up. I was standing in the picket line yesterday, you know, trying to hand out flyers to cars going by, and people just rolling up their windows and driving by. I'm from Minneapolis. I don't care. I don't have nothing to do with me. I don't want to know what's going on. You know, they look like I was going to jump in the car with them. I'm a 55-year-old woman standing on the side of the road with a little flag and this green flyer in my hand, and they wouldn't beat their horns. They wouldn't do anything. People need to understand that we need to create an alternative. We need to create something completely different, and we're going to be doing it because basically, if they're obsoleting their money, I don't know what they're thinking. They're lunatics. I've said this ever since I was a kid in college, and I predicted all this crap. I said by the time I'm 55, I'll either be dead or it won't be worth, you know, living. So I created the Liberal Realist Party, and my two slogans were "Party Now," and the other one was "Mutate or Die." Because I really figured by the time I got to be 55, there'd be so much poison in the world that everyone would be dying of cancer, including myself, and that it wouldn't be a good place to be right now. So, and it's not, you know, theoretically it's not. So really, we got to start putting value in things that are valuable. Sequestration is about money, and it's about family, and it's about hard times. They're going through some real hard times in Greece. I have a friend that I talk to on Facebook who's from Greece, and she just tells horror stories. But, you know, I think they need to get it. They need to start moving along with their threats here and get it done. Let's do it. Yeah.
So I want to, you know, kind of lead us to a couple of wrap-up questions here. And if the chat has any other questions you want to get in, if you'll put them in the stream and put them in bold, I'll try to get them in.
Thanks, everybody, for the questions that you had. It's very nice to be asked a question. I liked it.
So there's several in the link pad and also my notes and a couple of things that have flown by. Is people are kind of wanting to know what you're feeling or what advice you might have for new media producers, whether they're live streams or bloggers or, you know, blog talk radio or just any.
I have a ton of advice. I wrote these down last night.
Okay, lay it on us.
Man, I wrote notes. I'm sad that you're missing some of these things, and I'm getting over it. See how I'm picking myself right back up? Just kidding. All right. First advice is have passion. I mean, you don't do this for any other reason than you just have to do it. I mean, it's not. I really, really love the fact that what I did. I like the way I did what I did and how it got me what I wanted, which was to get to know some of these people. I mean, that's payback enough for me. You know, I know people who are moving and shaking and from all different levels of Occupy. But it's better than that. I love them. I'm so delighted with the people that I've you know, been able to get close to and get to know. And even like when I met Puck Boy and at S17, that was like a great day. And my friend Alan Eaton from LA and I don't want to leave anybody out. I mean, Gail, we had this great meeting of the four of us at Mickey's E-Vegan. We all met up this one night, and it was just like, I was like, God, I just I felt at home, you know, and about a young man from Virginia who actually went there because of Lee Camp, but I didn't know that until after my show the other day. My friend Peter, who I met in my affinity group. So yeah, passion. You know, be passionate about whatever it is, but be willing to experience the benefits in a way you may not be prepared for, or you may not thought would be the benefit. I would say ask and you receive. Ask people for help. Ask people to come on your show. Ask. Don't be afraid. I have asked, one of my first guests was John Chester, a guy who used to do a really great show called Random One on A&E. And I decided I'd write him a note and say, would you come on my show? And he did. And I had Sean Croxton on my show, too. And a lot of the people I've asked on my show, I was terrified to ask them on my show, but I just ask them now. And they come on. Because everybody wants to really talk about themselves, you know? They do. So, and ask people for help. Like today, I asked Jenna, you know, hey, you know, can you close this circle for me? Can you tell me, you know, can you put me in touch with, you know, the person sending you out to do these pictures? And, you know, she put a word in for me, and it turned out to be the person I was pursuing, which was great. It didn't have to be, but, you know, it was like she was happy to help. So, you know, you can't do it alone. Get feedback from people you trust. I had some of my early shows, I was doing not such a great job at them. I was a little too excited. And I had a friend who I could trust who felt, you know, who put it out to me, said maybe you should do this and maybe you should do that. And I was really, you know, I was really glad that he said those things, and I was really glad that I had, you know, the humility to listen to myself and make some adjustments. You know, so someone I can trust and someone that I'm willing to hear the truth from. You know, if you don't want to get hurt, you don't want to get your feelings hurt, you know. Right. So you got to watch out who you ask. Listen to and watch your shows. It's horrible. It's just horrible. But you got to do it every now and then. You don't have to do all of them. But just test it out every once in a while. Because you can make adjustments. Build alliances. A lot of the stuff I've been doing on my shows are things that they just go straight across, you know. They just, like I'll get a guest from another, you know, from one guest I'll get another guest and another guest, or, you know, it'll just send me in a direction while I'm researching that guest. But build alliances with people that like me and Mark now, you know, I've got a new partner. I got a new someone that I can call and say, hey, you know, I'm having a crappy day. What should I do? And he can crack me up or something, you know. So I think be genuine with your motives. Always check your motives. Always make sure why you're doing what you're doing. Be honest. Don't lie to yourself. As much as you can, practice that. It's really important. Take help and give it is also, you know, another thing that you got to do. So those are my advices.
I think you should write us all like a little zine. A zine for new media producers. That was awesome. So we're going to wrap it up with... Anybody wants to transcribe that, they're welcome to. Yeah, well, you know...
I'm just kidding.
No, that's great, because we do archive this, and so I'm going to try to pull some of the tidbits out. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up with our last question, and you've touched on this several times. But what call to action do you have for your listeners, our viewers, and just the audience in general?
Well, I did, you know, think that one out, and hopefully I can read my notes. But it's really important. You know, honestly, if someone is creating for you, is creating things, they're first and foremost creating it for themselves. But they are also giving it to you like a little kid or a dog, you know, with the tennis ball or whatever. I mean, seriously, you know, realize it. If you like someone, that, you know, they went to the wall to bring this to you. You know, Mark went to the wall to make this show happen for you. I stayed up last night after walking 9 miles to write out all these questions to make sure I would, you know, not drop the ball and be an idiot on his show. You know, we're trying, we're working hard. Really working hard, but we love what we do, but we're still working hard. You can support the person that you like in new media by sharing. You know, if I put a post up, if you've been on my show and I'm putting posts up and you're not helping me out, that hurts really bad. You know, encourage your media person that you like. You know, you don't have to patronize them. Like, oh, that's great, you know, blah, blah. You know, I mean, you want to relate to people, not necessarily praise, you know. If there's an opening offered, you know, or if you can help, you know, go in. You know, if you see if you see Mark saying, you know, wow, I'd really like to have a guest like so-and-so, you know, or, you know, Annie does a lot on permaculture. If you know somebody who does permaculture and you don't send him a note and tell him that, then you're a bud, you know. You should do that. So, you know, basically come alongside that person as much as you can without being like a stalker or whatever, and, you know, at a comfortable range, and participate. This is about community. Don't take any of it for granted. You know, wait a minute, hold on, I see this. So there, watch a lot, support the ones. Oh, yeah, watch a lot of people. I mean, I hope a lot of people check out my show. You have to watch it all the time. If you like Mark's, that's a good show, you know. But watch a lot of different people. You just don't know who you're going to find that's going to be great, or that maybe they need an alliance. Maybe you guys listening to me now are thinking, God, Annie should meet this other person. You know, she would really get along with that person, and it might help her with her show, or vice versa. So support the ones, you know, that you like, you know, and watch for an opportunity to help in ways that you can. You know, like for example, one of my friends, one of my live streamer friends, is an edited camera and occupied musician. I mean, that's Lorenzo Serna. He's up in North Dakota, and he opened a little art studio up there, and he needed a piece of equipment that I happen to have, you know, on my shelf that I hadn't used, and I knew I wasn't going to use, and I said, hey, can you use this? You know, because he was saying he needed a piece of equipment to do something, and I just wrote to him and said, hey, you know, you want this? He says, yes. So he paid for the postage, and now he's got it, and they're using it a lot, and I just feel great about that. You know, it was that easy. I could have sat here and waited, and for the day I would sell it on eBay and make a couple, maybe $15 on it. I'm so glad I did what I did with it. You know?
Yeah.
So I guess that's my call to action. Get involved, I guess, and be supportive, and don't be like patronizing. I mean, don't be. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say that. You know, you want to say nice things to people, but it's more important to get involved and be equal. All right? Because we're all in this together. We're all in this together. We all need each other. We all need each other. Mark and I need listeners as much as you need us. It's a big circle. And it goes around to kind of finish it because, you know, this guy that I'm going to interview on Thursday, he was up in a place called Leonard, Minnesota. This is a place I went to when I was 11 years old after Girl Scout camp. My dad had a friend living there. And this is absolutely out in the middle of absolutely nowhere, right? So I know where he was at, and then he's actually protesting. They're doing the protest for the Enbridge pipeline going through Red Lake. You know, the Red Lakes, there's a huge internal bodies of water up there. I think they're the biggest freshwater bodies of water in the United States. And I've been to both of those places because we went to visit this guy there, and I went to, and everything else is going to start. You're going to hear all these names: Red Lake, Bemidji, and Leonard, Minnesota. Names you've never heard before. I've been there. I can't believe that all this stuff is like connecting for me. These are like forgettable moments, you know, in my life. But now it's just like blooming up, and it's fascinating to me how things are just connecting. So it's all about connecting, I guess, is my final word. Just think, connect. I think that should be all of us should kind of be our motive, is about connecting.
That was a wonderful way to wrap it up, and it's been a very inspiring evening, and I'm so grateful you did the show with us. Thank you so much.
Me too. I wasn't as scared as I thought I would be once I got into it. But I hope everybody will stop by Talkie-Pie, go to the archives. There's definitely 70 shows to choose from, and you'll definitely enjoy one of them. I guarantee you. So, and I would love anybody who would send me a little note. That would make my day.
Yeah. Well, Annie, thank you so much for being on, and we're going to let you go. I really appreciate your time and your energy, and I just want to jump in and say there's 70 shows archived, and there's more than one that you'll like. I feel confident about that.
That's right. Well, thanks to all your listeners for the questions and everything, Mark, and I'll talk to you again real soon, okay? Have a great night, and thanks so much.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
So, that was Annie Lindstrom from Talkie-Pie. You can find her on talkiepie.net, and check out those archives, and also check out the her shows live. She does great work. She's a great interviewer, and Annie, if you're listening, thank you again for being on tonight. She was fabulous. A couple of quick program notes. Tomorrow night at 7:30, we're starting early, 7:30 p.m., we're going to be presenting a performance that's being hosted by Student Debt Crisis. It's called For Profit, The Exploitation of the American Student. It's a solo play, and they're going to stream it, so we're going to put it up. And then I think there's a discussion afterwards, so we'll stick with that and stream it. So that's at 7:30 tomorrow night, which is Tuesday night, and hope you guys can all join us for that. And working on shows for next week, and the one that I have scheduled and booked actually was courtesy of having delved into Annie's archives. There's a fellow named Steve McAllister who is involved with time banks, and if you don't know about the time bank principle, you should do a little bit of reading on it. But essentially what it is it values everybody's time equally, and so it's a new economy kind of thing, and he's got that going on and in place in a community. So Thursday night next week, we're going to be interviewing him about that. So that's coming up. And I don't have the early week show planned out yet. But, stay tuned. Check out the OPN website, where the calendar is. And if you haven't registered already, sign up there. You'll get day of emails. I want to thank Annie again for such a positive and uplifting show. A lot to think about. We appreciate all the work she's doing, and I think it's been a good night. Thank you to all the OPN folks who were here and the other new voices and new faces that have visited us. That was kind of fun to have you guys on. And DJ, good to see you here. Amigo, always a pleasure to have you looking in from Mexico. We do these shows because they need to be done, but they're a lot more fun when everybody's here participating. So, with that, I'll put on a little bit of Patty, and we'll take you on out, and hope everybody has a good evening. Thank you for your work. Thank you, Clearly, for helping out with the pad and everything. And we'll see you guys in the morning for Democracy Now! On Z's Morning Show. Have a good evening.
The great
Thank you, OPN. That's a wrap for tonight. We'll see you guys in the morning. Have a good tomorrow. Do good works. We love you all.